once we do one, we'll take some time to kind of discuss it. And I'm gonna tell you like this. This is probably gonna be one of the few times we discuss these things because our ideas and what the piece are, especially when you start working on it, may change. So the discussion and our ideas and what we throw out as far as what this piece and how we feel about it, it'll evolve, so to speak. So don't be married to any of this because the evolution can happen. And I don't really like to talk about it because I rather for you to show me. You know, you can talk a character to death, but if you can't show me what you're doing on stage, then it's kind of irrelevant to have a conversation about it.
What is my favorite part about performing? I think it's just being in the moment. Being able to play another person in the midst of a situation and being able to live in so many different worlds and so many different universes and being able to kind of embody these new experiences and add that to my repertoire of life. It's a really strange thing, I think, being able to take on all of these personalities, but it's really cool in a sense, and there's a sense of beauty and wonder in it.
My favorite part about acting is expression. And I love how people make different choices. I love how I make different choices. I love the choices that people make that I didn't expect, because acting is about doing and making choices.
And if it can make us look introspectively, then I think it accomplishes the goal. Yeah, I mean, we're not kind of doing table work on it because, we have it's a lot, we're gonna take it moment to moment.
Today, we're gonna be serving ourselves up some, you know what, I'm not gonna tell you. That's right, I'm not gonna tell you what you cook till after you done cooked it. Because child, here at the On Elka Show, we loves to have ourselves some fun.
Favorite part about acting? Every time, although there's like it's a profession, the way that I try to ease my mind into it is that you get to pretend for a living. It's like something you've done since you were a kid, and it's like being a kid on a more professional stage. And then working with people, I have to say. The reason it's more enjoyable working with people is when you share a passion with others that you have, it just makes it more enjoyable to me.
So are you doing this
go ahead, honey, take your time.
as a one at a time turn? So like dun, dun, dun.
However, we're set up on the couch, this way. Don't shake a fish, just shake a leg. But that's the problem. I don't want to put too much in.
She's like,
a fish, just shake a leg. Da da. There, so you can actually move better.
Yeah. So you did.
Yeah, so go with another. Whatever's next. Oh, that's perfect. So don't shake the fish, just shake the leg and do the twist.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Do the twist.
The hardest part of acting is completely understanding who your character is supposed to be. There's a life behind each character, and you bringing it forth on stage is going to be the hardest part of doing it. It may be fun, the process may be cool, but getting that completely under wraps is the hardest part.
You ain't never done an electric slide.
Okay, we're talking about those parties.
Any party.
Those are family functions.
Family function.
Yeah, those are family
Hey, you know what?
functions.
As a matter of fact, this thing that you're going through right now is a family function.
Oh, God.
The biggest family is like the biggest family reunion you've ever seen. And the best family reunion you've ever been to in your life. And those famous people party. You know what I mean? People that you always wanted to talk to. And it was right there.
My work as a stage manager for the Colored Museum, it's pretty fun. I'm not gonna lie. It's an experience. I really appreciate that Thrash is giving me an opportunity to be a stage manager and learn how it is to be a stage manager, because one day maybe I can be one professionally, like either Broadway, community theater, or just be around and help. My favorite part is really hanging out with the actors. Everyone is so nice. It's really fun. They like making jokes. It's really fun just being able to hang out with the actors and see them get better and know their lines. It's fun. Right here.
Huh? Alright. Sit down. In there. Now here, if this was anything other than glue on, I would say we'd throw a screw. But this isn't gonna be. But it's close enough that I think we're gonna be okay.
I am a carpenter overhire for the set, like building the set, essentially. I've worked with Rachel before at another theater company, so it's always lovely to work with her again. It's always interesting to kind of see how everyone does things like very differently, but it's still like all comes down to the basics of this is what we need and this is gonna be how you do it. Even though there's so many different ways of actually like getting to that point. I met with Van Meter and Rachel over at our storage to get started on pulling like flats. A flat is pieces of like sticks of 1x4 wood cut down to a specific size and then put together as like a rectangular frame with a piece of luan on top of it. And the ones that we are using for this show are 12 feet tall and varying widths. In order to minimize on having to buy more materials, so since we've already have them in stock, why don't we use them? I was noticing how almost every single aspect of what we were using and utilizing and building for the new set is kind of like pieces, like bits and pieces of construction units that I've built before while I was actually a student. So it's kind of like, oh, okay, cool. I built that for that show. I built that for that show. And now it's all coming together to this one show. It's very cool and very interesting. I'm sad to see it go, but at the same time, I'm like, it's being repurposed.
Rebecca!
Oh, I thought you left.
Where do you want these?
What?
Where do you want these?
We don't what? The eggs? See shop. Fuck.
Is it gonna tilt?
It's gonna do everything, but I don't want it to.
Like all of these legs, you would just put them back so they kind of crisscross and intersect. That's a lot of more work than it's probably worth, though.
But the thing is like I was trying that, which is kind of what Van Meter wanted.
But he wanted it like so that the legs are all going inward, and that's not going to hold anything up.
Yeah, but and I want to send him a picture and be like, this is what I got. I tried it your way, it didn't work. This is what I have.
What I've helped with, I've helped cut and measure some of the 2x4s and 1x4s. I helped build some of the flats that we put together. Really, I just helped around wherever they needed me. Really.
Oh, question.
Yes.
Did they make my weapon, my gun?
Yes.
What kind is it?
It is a rifle.
What kind of rifle?
It has to be error appropriate though.
It is error appropriate. That I will say.
Okay, so
Trust your props, people. Trust them.
Yes.
you got props.
He'll save me.
But
Trust
I
me.
work.
My job is the properties mistress. I originally wanted to be the assistant director, AD, but somebody else beat me to that. So my next choice was to work with props. I have actually never done props. I've seen it done for years and years and years, but it's something that I've never done. I've performed on stage in the last fall production, Intimate Apparel. I was Mrs. Dixon, which was a lot of fun. And then when we did Laramie Project, I had several roles in that play. I've done dramaturgery work. I did the dramaturgery for Tartuffe, which I was nominated for an award. I also did dramaturgery for Little Shop of Horrors, which I was also nominated for an award for that. Yeah, so at Clayton State, that's what I've done so far. I've also done a lot of directing outside of the university. So, so this is a new experience, which is nice.
I have to find the pictures of Jomo, or the autographs.
Right.
And then I have to do the bag. Print the bag off.
Right, so you need to print the bag off, and I need you also to kind of cover that bag as well. Basically, I go through the script, and I find all of the props, whether that's things we have in-house or I have to go shop for them, and then set up the prop table for the actors, making sure that each item works with their particular role.
My roles are assistant stage manager. I am part of the props team. I am the waiter in the Miss Raj scene, or the gospel according to Miss Raj, and I do various other different tasks. Assistant stage manager basically helps out the stage manager, stays backstage to make sure the cast is staying quiet backstage while scenes are going on stage, make sure that they catch their cues on time, and make sure everything's floating good backstage. My favorite exhibit is the hairpiece. That scene is so funny, especially the ending, and every single time that they do it, it cracks me up.
My role is the technical director / master carpenter, sort of a hybrid of those. When I was first hired as a tech director, TD, it was described, the role was described as being the person responsible for getting the set into the theater in whatever size pieces, so knowing the size of the door, knowing how all of the larger set, what are the Tetris pieces that compile to get it, and then also knowing how to take it apart to remove it after the show so sadly is closed. And so anything within that, working really closely with the production manager around the logistics between departments, what is scenic, what is props, what is costume, what is a collaboration of all three, and then keeping that sort of big picture together, and then also making sure that details are not missed. I have been a theater artist my whole life, and then when I was an undergraduate, my campus job was building opera and theater sets as a carpenter, and I never expected that I'd be a carpenter, but once or sort of in the professional world, but once I graduated, I moved to New York and got hired to do a bunch of props carpentry and props building, which I really loved, and then I've lived in Philly, I've gone to grad school, I'm a musical theater writer, I'm a playwright, and I'm mostly a theater artist who loves to be in the room, whatever it is that needs doing, how do I get in the room? And so at this current moment there's a lot of room for production and technical folks, and so that's sort of how I have found myself as a tech director these days. This has been a very fast process for this particular show, so I think that we started talking about 3 weeks ago from now about just bringing me on board in general and sort of getting a base idea about what the plans were. So this has been really accelerated because part of that is also ordering materials and seeing what's in stock and seeing what you can change. So it's been very swift. We've been building for about a week and a half, and we have about 48 hours to go. So there is no normal process for theater. there is sort of it depends on the scope of a project. I would say that, quote unquote, ideally in a professional space, one would start building about 6 weeks before opening. That is very generous and often does not happen. Hopefully the design process has started much, much earlier, but you definitely want to have the set being built before first rehearsal, especially because rehearsal processes are pretty short these days. So you just want to sort of have all of those preemptive, all the creative departments in conversation with each other, so that it's not immediate crunch time. But all processes are different. It depends on whether people are able to be working during the standard workday or whether folks are doing other jobs and then it is more of an evening call. So it really is very dependent on what the talent and crew need and how they can do it. I would say that what is different about working on this particular thing is that I am less familiar with the shop and with the venue. And so that has been part of my onboarding is knowing what tools I have and what stock exists. And so I currently work as a tech director for one of the theaters in town. And so I'm a little bit more familiar, because I've worked with them on a number of shows, about what we already have. And so this was coming in a little bit fresher. But I would not say that that is different between professional and college theater. That's more just having to do with sort of longer term staff or bringing in, extraneous is not the word, bonus professionals such as myself for the process.
So my role is wardrobe supervisor, so that means I do everything from the organizing of the costumes to the washing, drying, ironing, steaming, anything that deals with costumes during the show, before the show, after the show, that's me. So working with the outside director and costume designer, since I'm with wardrobe, I'm mostly working with the costume designer more than with the director, but I also get to see the process of the director. And so it's been really like enlightening, just learning, getting insight on how things work outside in the industry, outside of school, versus how things work when you're actually in the school production or working, with people in school. It's like a difference because you get to see, you get to learn more from their perspective. So far, what I've learned is that I did not know that there's actually a distinction between wardrobe and costume as far as like costume design and costuming, because costume design and costuming is more of the before the show, getting everything designed, written down, getting things sewn together from scratch, or even pulling things from outside sources, whether it's you going to the store and actually getting stuff and ordering stuff. And then when you do stuff with wardrobe, that's more of the washing, drying, that type of stuff, like the maintenance of the costumes.
In this production of the Color Museum, I am the costume designer. It is my job to make sure that I help inform the director's vision of the story by adding costumes that help further the story along. So basically, I design the looks, I decide what shoes they're wearing, what hair they have going on, and I make sure that, that what costume designs I pick are in line with whatever the director's vision for the story. You start with your research. You have to figure out all the different references. You have to do your homework. And then you have to meet with the director and you have to meet with the creative team to figure out what the vision is for the production. And then from there, you have to meet with actors to see what their body types are. The all-wheel costume designers, you design costumes before you see the actors. But I find that is completely unhelpful because you have different people and different body types, and it is important to be able to also help your actors be able to tell the story that they want to tell as well. So it is a long process, not just someone's like, oh, we'll just do this. For some shows, you build them, and I design them and build them from scratch. Some shows, I shop it. So it just kind of depends, and there are just different elements that go into the whole costume design department. Because even the stuff I shop, when I have to alter it or I have to change it, or quick rig it, it still has to be built.
A quick rig is when you have to design something to come on or come off quickly. Like, let's say an actor has a very quick change and goes from one scene and they're one thing in one scene and there's something else in another scene, and it has to change instantaneously. So you'll move the buttons over to this side and you'll put snaps here so the shirt breaks away. So a quick rig can be anything from hair to clothes to shoes to putting elastic in shoes so they come off quicker. Anything that makes changing clothes quick is a quick rig. But I've always been in costume design. I would always create my own clothes because I grew up at a time where there were not a lot of great clothes and costume designs for little thick black girls. I prefer working backstage. I prefer being a costume designer because I get to go home. I don't want to rehearse for 6 weeks. I want to do and create my magic and get on. But once the show opens, as a costume designer, I roll out of this process. And the only time I come back in is if there is a problem that they cannot fix, or if there is something that happens and one of the costumes is completely destroyed, or if an understudy comes in and I have to costume them. And so there are different levels of what happens in this department. Also, wigs and makeup are also separate as well. However, I just happen to be one of the designers who can do wigs, makeup, and incorporate the entire process into costume design.
My role is lighting designer. It entails creating the look of the show, the feel, the beat, the time, the emotional compass, including illumination, but also helping tell the narrative. Other roles I've worked in theater is production management. The role of production management involves overseeing the entirety of the production, so pulling together all the personnel, the technical aspects, the budgeting, the ins and outs, and nuts and bolts of how it all comes together. Traditionally, to become a lighting designer, you need to attend a 4-year college and then potentially a master's program. It helps if you have a mentor to sort of guide you along the way, or if you can assist other designers. Working with directors and creative types who can guide you along the path and give you lots of feedback is very helpful. As the lighting designer, the process starts with the script. You begin analyzing that, determining what the settings are, what the form, what shape it will take, and then you collaborate with senior designers and directors to hone in on that view. Then dig into the details. So that includes coming up with a schematic for the lighting, where each light will go, drafting that out, a prompt book with your cues, selecting color palettes and blending those. And the biggest thing is maximizing the resources that any company has. So ensuring that you're using everything that you have the ability to use to best cultivate the outcome for the show, the best outcome for the show. Working with a college is a lot of fun because there's a lot of joy in the process. You know, you get tired and you get older and you've been around a long time, and then there's this just invigorating spirit of people who are learning and engaging and tackling things with open minds, and I find it very rewarding. So after any given rehearsal, there is a period to do notes. For this production, I'm also operating as my own programmer. So I went in and adjusted different levels, settings, and timings of individual cues. Things that I observed during the production, during our run through, I thought could be better or just needed tweaking. I made minor adjustments to get us to the final product.
25.
25?
Because 24 is the party text.
Okay.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, the sound is 24.
Go 81. Sweet. I say that we're ready, guys, right?
Yes. Oh, you're so pretty.
Sweet.
The best part of acting, I think, is performing. You do all the practicing and all that extra stuff, but at the end of the day, when you have the finished product and everybody can see the fruits of your labor, it's really good.